First of all, I think your analysis was very straight-line. History doesn't run in a straight line.
Kid, you cannot tell your neighbor he is stealing dubs when you are stealing funds.
As High Commissioner, I was wrong. As Charandas Prasad, I reacted naturally how any person would have.
I did not come here for that kind of abuse. I did not come here for that kind of abuse. If you're going to go down that road, I'll walk off.
But it's all okay once they're talking. If they were talking, I could not have been here today.
You got ADHD.
I got that.
Calm down.
I think I've done enough in terms of taking our team out of trouble from losing.
Come on, Lou Taylor. That's good. I'm reading the script now, and the first person that comes to my mind to play a detective,
yes,
but an erratic detective, is Mikhail Rodriguez.
Why an African slap an Indian? Why a man and slap a woman? Look, how you deal with that? You deal with that.
We must encourage platforms like this because it brings together different people and allows for discussions to take place in our country on a multiplicity of fundamental issues.
You apologizing for something you think I did is wrong. I don't want you to do that, and you should not have done that. Hi there, a pleasant Wednesday evening to you. Thanks for being with us. Welcome to the Freddie Kissoon Show. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Guyana is there's still tension in the air. Since the evening of 2 Mondays ago, there seemed to be still some tension in the air. I go to the seawall every evening, afternoons. And since what happened 2 Mondays ago, you can see the decrease of people on the Kingston Esplanade. Well, we all know what happened. The post-mortem results was announced, and then all hell break loose. They were looting, burning. Acid was thrown on a school bus. It is said that around 20 supermarkets were looted. Courts of the East Bank were looted, and it's said they lost about 42 television sets. What happened on Monday, 2 Mondays ago, after the post-mortem of Adriana Young was announced that she died by drowning? Nigel Hughes, the leader of the AFC, the next day gave a press conference, and he was pellucid and unambiguous when a journalist asked him, what about the people who suffered, the lorry driver who had his lorry burnt? He said, what happened 2 Monday evenings ago was the work of agent provocateurs put there by the PPP. So we will have a debate about that and related issues. Thanks for being with us. As usual, my co-host is Leonard Craig, and our guests are people who have been very, very, and I'd say the third time, very generous to this program over the past 3 years. They have not refused to be here. They have been very generous in giving us their presence. Tonight, the former mayor of Georgetown, UBRAJ NARINE, and well-known civil society activist Jonathan Yearwood would give their views about where Guyana is going, what to expect, what not to expect. I will hand over to Leonard Craig. We go alphabetically, so we start with UBRAJ NARINE. Leonard?
Mayor, you heard the introduction of Freddie. Just give us your views on, what has transpired so far and the actions of the politicians. How you?
I'm a politician as well too.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks again, Freddie and Leonard, to have me on your program. It's a pleasure being here. However, let me say I don't condone or tolerate what took place of looting and fire and burning buildings and robbing supermarket and so on. I don't condone. I am not into those kind of thing at all in our country. Whether you twist it or turn it, I believe we are a developed nation and we have to act more irrespective to certain situations that come before us, and we must act with certain tolerance. Looting and burning police and burning tires and throwing acid and so on. I, as a politician, don't condone those kind of action at all for my country.
Good evening, viewers, and once again, thank you for having me on your show. First of all, let me start by offering my condolences to the family of Miss Adriana Young, who died very tragically. And it's unfortunate that her death has caused the upheaval that is going through our nation at this point in time. People are making unfounded, unsubstantiated statements, and they're just throwing remarks out there without any evidence, without any proof as to ABC did actually happen. And a lot of persons are just taking these statements because they're coming from people that they perceive to trust and are running with it and creating mayhem and havoc within our communities. Being a politician has certain responsibilities, and one of those responsibilities is to, when you speak, you try to speak as much of the truth as you possibly can. It is also, in my view, your moral obligation to divulge to the police any information that you have that will assist the police in keeping calm and order, law and order within our communities. We have a politician who says that he has information, but he cannot give his information because he's protecting his source. Now, I know that happens with journalists. I never learned that that happens with lawyers. So as far as I'm concerned, that lawyer is obligated, should be obligated to divulge to the police whatever information he knows that will prevent crime from taking place.
Last week on this program, Freddie and I had a little chat. We were talking. We didn't have any guests, and I praised Nigel Hughes because he released a statement on AFC letterhead, and then he had, I think he read the statement, and it was recorded and it went out. And I thought the statement was on point. It did not politicize the matter, and that is what politicians should say. And I gave Nigel Hughes his flowers for that. But since then, more recent development would make me want to, well, that has already gone, so I don't want to withdraw it. But I also, just in the same way, I want to register my consternation for how Nigel Hughes behaved subsequent to that. One of the issues, Mayor, is that a set of politicians went to the area where the young girl perished and had a political convocation. Do you see that as acceptable? How you view that?
Well, so far I have looked at it, and it was a press conference, I think.
Yeah.
Not far from where the girl was drowned. I was busy. I couldn't attend that press conference. I was invited, and I had some other things to do with my daughter's school and so on. I couldn't make it. But in that case there, I believe that the team was trying to send a strong message where the incident took place, and the kind of justice and the kind of information which emanate from the Guyana police force, where the girl was in a vehicle and all these things. You know, those things, people are hurt still on those things. Whether you're a politician or an ordinary citizen, coming from the authority that ought to protect us, that this child is gone into a vehicle, it creates different tension, it creates different thoughts in your mind. So I believe they was trying to get over to the public, and I believe they met with the family and other people around there. That is their intent. What was their intention? Otherwise than that, I can't say further what took place because I was not present. I just looked at it online for a few minutes and then I had to go.
For me though, if I may comment, I thought it was an unnecessary politicization of the child's death. And if you are going to erect a shrine at the area of her death, it cannot be a political shrine. And I think that is what that event converted that area to on that day and in those moments. And it served to further inflame tensions, in my opinion. And it was like seeking to score political points off of a tragedy by doing so. That is just my view.
And I find that very despicable, because why would you want to use this tragic event and score political points off of it? This is a time when you would want to have healing taking place, where you want to console the family of the child, but this was certainly not their intention. Their intention at that press conference was just to stir more trouble and to give advice, well, not advice, but to give support to the people who were creating the turmoil. As one person said, support the scrape heads. Why would you, as a politician, want to support scrape heads that are looting and destroying supermarkets and courts and Lucky Dollar and whoever else were damaged? Why would you want to give moral support? Payless Store. Why would you want to give moral support to people who are damaging and creating havoc, to, for them to continue doing this kind of behavior? That makes little or no sense. As a result of that, I quite agree with the police for charging these people under the Terrorism Act, because I'll tell you what, 90% of the Guyanese on the coast were terrorized by that type of behavior. People locked up in their houses and they cleared the streets. They tried to get home as early as possible because they didn't want to get caught in that mayhem. That is terrorist behavior. When you terrorize a population, it is terrorism. And I quite agree with them being charged under the Terrorist Act. And I hope that some of them get some very long sentences. I hope the political masters behind the support, that throw support behind these people, are also arrested and charged under the Terrorist Act. We need to draw the line on what is acceptable and what is not. That kind of behavior is not acceptable. That kind of giving support, moral support, and maybe financial support to these people is unacceptable. And we need to draw the line and have harsh lessons about it. Many places in the world you go, this type of behavior and support is absolutely unacceptable, because it is done with the intent to create havoc and to create terror in the population so that they can do whatever they want to do.
Since you brought up that topic, I just wish to make a quick comment. The comment is that in some countries, or in most countries, there are two concepts with respect to terrorism. There is terrorism, and then there is public terror. Some countries separate them in law. And I am not a lawyer, I'm not explaining any specific law, I'm just speaking generally. So some countries separate them in law. So to charge somebody for terrorism, it got to be backed by an ideology or a religious perspective or something that says go in a public place and harm people, you're going to be charged with terrorism in some countries. Got to have a ideology behind it.
Well,
otherwise, it is public terror. And I just said that to say that Guyana's law does not make the distinction.
Good.
So that if you cause public terror, it's the same as terrorism here in Guyana. So don't judge what we do in Guyana based on our law with any other country that you know of that separates the two. And there are many countries in the world that does not separate the two, right?
Yeah.
I just wanted to share that with our viewers. And the way I understand our law in my own layman's term is that distinction has not been made in Guyana's law. So if you go out there and do anything to cause public terror, it's one and the same as terrorism under our law.
Yes.
So I just wanted to share that.
There is something there was a dimension that has not been commented on with that press conference that was there. The actual invitees were political. Some of them were political parties. They
were all political parties.
Simona Boom's former political party, and she was there. A guy called something Best. I can't remember.
Darian Best.
He has a political party. So you invited political parties to pronounce against the backdrop of the tragedy. You're giving those political parties then. You're using the tragedy as a platform. And one of the speakers of that meeting, the guy Best, what Darwin Best for, he actually went and openly said, we have sympathy for the squareheads. You're not alone. I mean, what was the relevance of that? You thought that the relevance would be in this time of Guyana's trouble, we need to eschew violence, what have you. But the guy went, so the event then was politicizing the girl's tragedy.
That's right. That's right. But these so-called squareheads also took it further, and they now said, burn Georgetown. Let's kill the president's children. I mean, where does this go?
That's not terrorism. That is not terrorism.
Where does that go? I mean, and then you're going to turn and say, one man said, kill all the police. And he pull out a gun and he's showing the gun. But then when he gets charged, he says, but it's only a toy gun. But how do you go about, say, kill all the police, kill the president's children, burn Georgetown down, burn down all the government buildings? What level of intellect do you have to support that as a politician?
UBRAJ, you want to come in here?
I must make mention that I was a part, like I said, I was invited. That thing was not to politicize anything. I'm not there here for defend Best or any of the speakers. That was there to reach the family and the community, and they did a press conference. However, I can't defend what they speak. I am not entangling myself with that. I believe we are Guyanese. Scrapehead is bought it from Freedom House. So I'm getting in Scrapehead and all these things. But the fundamental issue, I listened to my good friend YEARWOOD. The fundamental issue, yes, we charge these people. I hear the same sentiment with you. They have some innocent people as well in this thing who make comment on Facebook who did not really intentional to do it. And so on. But when we look at the fundamental issue, like with the police force, what is your thought when that information came from the police force, when the mother was crying, the father was out there and said, look, let us start this building. Let us go in this building and start this building for this my daughter, this little girl. And the police put out a statement and said, look, this girl gone in a vehicle. And then after everything happened, the commissioner of police came out and said, look, this was a mistake. If you, as a father, what would you have done? I'm not saying to terrify anybody, terrorism, bondong, no. But let us give credit where credit. The people are wrong to do certain things with the roads and building and all these things. I totally agree with you with that. But what about the police force? I haven't seen no one make the base where the information came from. I believe if the police had done their duty properly that evening, that Yorubin can be located, whether he was drunk or what happened in that building, they should have found that child. Till next day, you actually see the girl appear in the pool. I am not here to say whether the girl drunk or not. That is not my business. I wasn't there. I am not a doctor. But let us deal with the information that came from the police force too. Right. That is misinformation to the public.
Yes.
Right?
But
let's address these things.
Let's look at the address of these things. To my knowledge, 3 police ranks are under close arrest. They're locked down in TSU building, whatever, until the investigation is over. 3 junior ranks that were at the location at the time are under close arrest. The commander of that division has been transferred and disciplined. So don't say that nothing is being done about the police misinformation. Something has been done already about it. The police are already being investigated. Some of them are already under lockdown. The senior commander is being transferred. Now, if you go back to the original statements of what took place, the first words out of the grandmother and the auntie's mouths were, the young lady was kidnapped. So you tell the police that we think the young lady was kidnapped. The police has to more or less run with that until evidence comes elsewhere. Now, if you understand how an organization like that works, the constable that receives that information tells the sergeant trusts that the constable has done due diligence to confirm that this happened. The sergeant now tells his superiors, and it works its way all the way up to the commander. The commander doesn't necessarily have to go and sit down and watch a video and see, oh, that's a little girl going in a car or whatever. He takes the word that it has been done by the junior ranks. Unfortunately, the junior ranks sent wrong information up the ladder. And that happens in multiple organizations. Unfortunately, in this case, it sent the police down a wrong road of investigation. Now, the police stopping the hotel from being searched because they felt that the girl was seen getting into a car. She's not in the hotel. Why would you allow a mob to go and search a hotel where they will do damage to private property?
This is not a mob. You're not talking about mob here. You're talking about the police force involving. This is not about a mob.
But if
you don't allow people to go and search a hotel as a professional police force. But you are given. History will judge you here today.
Yeah, that's fine.
History will judge you because the commander been there. The commander was on the ground. Right? The fundamental issue here, the commander was there, is like he was in an office. People appeal. If I go and say something to the commander that I get beat up on the road, he has to, the junior rank has to go investigate and all these things. I agree with those things. But in fact, the commander was there, people pleading for help. If this was an official child, you know what should happen in this country. The whole place should shut down, dogs and sniff dogs and all the professionals should come out there. This is a common man child. Yeah, we must able to have a human heart sometime in Vienna. And many of us don't have that when we come to politics. That's why I sit here quietly. Because I'm a father. Right? I'm a father. We must get a human heart. Because when you, a child of such an age, you can't go and pick up a child in a supermarket. You can get a husband, you can get a wife. But you can't go get a child in the supermarket. This is a child life. We must able to understand what those parents was going through at that point of time. And the force are there to console us and to do all what they can do to give us an answers to where is my child, you know? So these things has to be addressed. We're focused on Scrapehead, which is aborted by at Freedom House. It's a new name. I don't know about the name.
It's not aborted by Freedom House.
It's aborted right at Freedom House when Jack Dew make mention. I never hear about Scrapehead.
Google the word Scrapehead.
Right? I don't know about Scrapehead. I never heard
Use Google and you'll find it.
I don't do it until Jack Dew make mention about Scrapehead.
From my own input, I wouldn't go as far as Jonathan has with respect to the fine details, because if we attempt to do that at this level, we're going to leave out too many things. And in leaving out some things, you might cause injustice to be perpetuated in one direction or the other. So I don't think, I wouldn't want to go down the road of giving moment by moment or ball by ball details about what went on. However, as we said on the program last week, I think both Freddie and I agree on that the police dropped the ball.
Yes, I can agree with that.
And again, I don't want to give moment by moment details, because if we go down that road, we're going to leave out too many things, and we might perpetuate injustice either to the police or to the family.
Right.
And there are a lot of things that we don't know.
We can agree that the police dropped the ball.
Yes,
at the early stages of the investigation.
Yeah.
There are things in their own SOP that they should have done that they did not do, and trying to make up for it now. In many respects, it might be too late. In several respects, because the hotel is burned, trail of evidence is burned, and all those kinds of things, and no investigation could make up for that, right? So in that respect, I would agree with Mayor NARINE. And I personally, for the earliest part of the protest, I am a sympathizer of that aspect of the protest. The early part, when people came out, they were vocal, and more people started coming and becoming vocal, and you were seeing it. And that is before the fires, you know what have you.
Yeah.
Yes, the people were a little disruptive, but I can understand that. You as the mayor said, jocularly, you don't go in a supermarket and replace your children. So that would be.
I think the other side of that, he was saying you could go in the supermarket and get a wife for a husband. Which has invoked my curiosity is how he met his wife.
Massey? Which supermarket?
I met my wife at Balwansing Hospital.
You can't go in a hospital and get a child, but you can go in a hospital and get a wife and a husband. But could we look at what this has done once again to the image of Guyana? People say every 5 years is the same thing. The 5 years ago, we had Cotton Tree. People running helter-skelter, cars burning on the road, mobs beating people. Now, 5 years after September 2013 Cotton Tree, we have it here again. I mean, where are we going?
You know, Freddie, that is something that I tend to ask myself too, with this kind of behavior of our society during election time. And as a young politician, I don't wish to go down that road and have my kids and future generation to go down that road, because I believe there's many issues which as politicians we can debate on and put forward policies and counter-debate policies of government and opposition as politicians. We don't need to go down this road, because when you burn the road and burn the buildings, it is taxpayer money has to utilize again, which those money can be utilized somewhere else and do something else for the country. And people sometimes lost their life innocently, and all these things. So I don't share that kind of behavior. I hope and pray that we can be mature enough and deal with issues and not to go about to harm individual. and throw acid and so on individual. Those things would not pay off.
Little children.
Little children. I visited the family, and you know, it's broke my heart. You see 3 kids born with acid. One of them can't eat because the acid get in his mouth. He has to, you know, use liquid and so on. So the teacher, the 2 teacher, I met the 2 teacher. You know, I sorry for those individual. Again, on that hand, acid shooting people in the eye. I saw, I don't know if it's a police or someone shoot someone in the eye. That is a next tragedy we have to deal with.
No, that wasn't related to the looting. I think that was a criminal.
That was a criminal.
Yeah.
So all of these things.
That was a robbery in progress.
All of these things we have to look at, and let us not go down this road. We must act with some kind of maturity. And politicians who come out to politicize these kind of issue, it will not go down nicely. History will hold them accountable. And we must understand there are a lot of policies that we can debate on. We can sell different things. We can debate on many other things before to encourage looting and destruction of our nation. I would not sit quietly with those kind of things.
What we need to have is our politicians, and I haven't heard of any really and truly political parties come out and condemn these actions when they happen.
But Norton and you said clearly those actions, those rampaging, those violent ordeals were the act of arson provocateurs. Unfortunately, we can't play the clip because of a technical problem, but he did say quite plainly when the journalist said to him, well, what about these people have suffered? He said, those were the work of arson provocateurs. I think it would have been commonsensical to disassociate yourself from that. How those things win you votes? I want to ask both of you.
Well, they don't win you votes. But what I'm saying is we need, when our politicians become mature enough to condemn this type of action, the actions will stop. What has happened is now these politicians are coming out and saying, well, we support the people who are doing these actions, and it's throwing fuel onto the fire. These people are now saying that, mentally they're saying that we got moral support from higher ups, that we can do these things and basically get away with it. And you can't. You cannot.
But I'm not here to defend Orby Norton, but I have listened to his press conference the same night, and he condemned it. Probably, I don't know if he went back and he make mention of such. He did condemn it. I haven't listened or read Nigel Yu's own, so I can't speak on that. But I can tell you I have listened to the leader of the opposition where he came online on a live broadcast and he condemned it immediately. Right? I have listened to him. I'm not here to defend him, but I have listened to him. He did condemn it. But I can't say about the leader of the AFC. I didn't listen to him nor read his statement.
But he's on record as saying that the people arson provocateurs were the culprits.
And Norton said...
He said that before you.
And he said plainly that the PPP is responsible. And I am saying is that the party that stands to lose the greatest from instigating violence is the PPP. And the PPP got to be the world's most stupid party to unleash
when you're in power, you don't want those things happening.
Exactly. And if there's anything to learn from Trinidad across the sea, the Trinidad government at the worst possible timing call an election, and people are asking whether what's his name set up Stuart Young to lose because you come straight out of a state of emergency, and the state of emergency was called to quell violence, and straight out of the state of emergency
why would anyone be happy with their government? When they can't walk the streets, they can't go in the supermarket. When it's nighttime, the country is a ghost town. Any human being would say, well, we ain't got law and order here, there.
Which is an exact replica of Trinidad. That is why you brought up Trinidad.
So I don't think people believe that the PPP...
Look, the political party got their own machinery behind it, I assumed. And both PPP and the PNC, which you have claimed, Freddie, on this program, we had a heated argument. They were behind this thing years ago, right? Both political party, which history tells us. And I don't know who really had started this thing. It can be the people out there who provoke the people, who encourage the people to go down this road. People have a mind of their own too, right? So when you blame in a political party, it may not be the opposition, it may not be the PPP, but people have a mind of their own. You can see that these people was brought to the court recently, and I haven't seen them being represented by any lawyers or anything, right? I see some of them was remanded, right? So people have a mind of their own where this little girl tragedy take a toll on people, and people take advantage. I will use the word advantage on it as well by looting and breaking into supermarket and all these things. So political parties may have their own machinery behind certain things, which I don't tolerate neither. And if the PP involved and the PNC involved and whoever involved, they should not go down such a road for the future of this country.
If I might, okay, go ahead.
UBRAJ, while I can agree with you that sometimes the spark to light the fire comes from an ordinary individual on the road or whatever, and it spreads because a lot of people were upset and still are upset as to what took place when she died. But that might have started with on the ground level, and it would have spread on the ground level. But when the politicians came out and said that they were starting to support that, the people on the instead of telling the people on, hey, y'all stop this, we don't need this, stop it. You can't attack and rob people. Condemn it immediately, vigorously, ferociously condemn it. But that wasn't done. Instead, many of the politicians, might have come out the night and said, stop it, condemn it. But subsequently, a lot of the other political, the other political persons came on board and said, we support you. One man I saw on Facebook calling them revolutionists. Because let's overthrow the government, they're revolutionists. So they're now adding fuel to this fire that the ordinary man on the street, through their own thought process, started to ignite this. We got it together, and then a mob rule takes over. When many people get together, they start to. It only takes one little spark inside, and a mob starts, and a mob rule runs without any thought process, basically. And then you have the politicians coming inside, trying to take it over and run with it for political purposes, and that needs to be condemned as well.
When I can bring you back to when the Henry boys, you can remember that, recall that protest in Region 5.
Cotton Tree.
With the nonsense was happening up there. I had politicians being up there, and there one woman who went there and put a halt on those nonsense, and was Vola Lawrence. She went up there and put a halt. It's on there on record.
I think the contract.
She was there and said, look, this nonsense must stop, right? And put a halt of those kind of behavior in Region 5 when the Henry boys was killed. But I want to see our politicians debate policies, man. Our people need better. Our people need to go down a road of prosperity, better their life. And there's enough policies we can debate on. Let us not focus to encourage people to loot in and destroy other people's life. It will not pay out. It will only cause harm to our society and communities.
A quick comment here. My own estimation is, why do you think Valda Lawrence was successful in quelling the thing in Region 5? You know why? Because the persons who were involved had some kind of inkling in their head. Where it came from and all of that is a long debate, but they had some kind of inkling in their head that, hey, look, some of these politicians condone this thing. So when a politician come and say, hey, stop this thing, it's something they could respond to right away, because they probably would have felt that they are getting
Harmon and Granger went and addressed the people up there, and then the story broke out.
Right. And people have it to say that Granger and Harmon did not make it pellucid that we are not...
don't do any chauvinist restraint yourself.
Right.
Wait that the investigation... They didn't go down that road.
Right. So people believe that. So, but I am not here to accuse either Harmon or Granger of anything. All I'm saying is that in the evaluation of things, that people probably would have felt in their head that we find some sort of acceptance among the political elite, so let's go. But when the political elite came out, of which Valda is a member of that group, came out and say pointedly that we're not going to accept this, I am here to tell you this is it, everything ceased. So that is sending a message to me that people probably felt that.
I don't know if you can remember the particular dimension of her delivery that was quite emotional and also cultural and historical. She said to them, this is not who we Africans are. Mm-hmm. This is not who we are. Mm-hmm. And I think that was receptively poignant.
All right. Maybe Valda Lawrence...
You need to talk to...
But Valda Lawrence is a very senior politician. So the people responded to the instructions of a senior politician. Right now, in this scenario we're going through now, no senior politician has come out as forceful as she did and say, cut it out. Mm-hmm. In actual fact, we have senior politicians encouraging it. Mm-hmm. Not directly, but by intuition, by insinuations of saying we support you. Yeah. So we need these senior politicians to come out right. If Aubrey Norton can, every time he goes on air, every time he says something, he comes out and he condemns it forcefully, it might stop. But he has to do it repeatedly.
You spoke of, Jonathan, you spoke of mob rule. And there is such a thing in sociological theory. There is such a thing. And people have observed that and so on. Where mobs take on a life of their own. Yeah. And I don't want to judge or prejudge anything with respect to that. However, there was some amount of organization among the criminal elements.
Yes.
Because you saw on videos they were riding around with motorcycles and start a fire here. And then once that fire started, they ride to another location, set a fire, and which points to some form of organization to bring out multiple guys on motorcycles, tie their head and what have you, and so on, suggest something, whether it's mob rule that took over or there was some political author behind it. I don't want to go specifically there, but I am for people to judge for themselves that there was some amount of organization in what was happening.
And if you're talking about sociology and mob rule, but you would also know that once the mob forms and it takes a life of its own, it's easy for leaders within the mob to take over and take it in the direction that leader wants to take it in.
Yeah,
which is probably what happened with the motorcycle guys. Because each one of those motorcycle gangs have people that they look up to, people within their own gang, their own motorcycle community that they look up to and respect.
Well, one of the things I don't understand before UBRAJ comes in is what an Indian, prominent Indian political activist sat right at this table and said he was moved by the Adrian Young thing and he would have participated in any picketing demonstration. I saw videos where in the protests outside the hotel, it was a multiracial protest. When the body was seen in the pool, I saw an Indian man jumped in. Yet I couldn't understand why the victims, apart from the Chinese, the acid victims were Indians, the lorry driver, the owners of the lorries that were burnt, the stores. I couldn't understand that Indian dimension of it. I mean, this was a tragedy that had multiracial support.
But
why
Freddie,
did they pick an Indian
but
people?
Freddie, there's something you're not mentioning. There's something you're not mentioning. A lot of these roadblocks, what has been coming out is the people manning the roadblocks were charging vehicles $200 a head to pass. Whether you're Indian, you're black, you're white, you're whatever, you're paying the $200 to pass. So this is not targeting only one race.
No, but I'm talking about the application of violence.
Yeah, but
the victims.
But this is application of violence and fear as well.
Both of you are right because the victims in the majority who lost property and were beaten and right were East Indians.
And Chinese.
That it turned out to be, right, and Chinese. So
because those are the people that got the money.
Right.
So the violence was against the business to gain whatever money.
But throwing acid in a school bus. We'll have to do money.
Well, the story that's coming out of that now is
children
personal.
and teachers was
walking, not a bus, right? They're walking from school.
But beside of that, Freddie, I agree with Leonard. This thing here is both ethnicity involved. If we look at Winnie Hoop, I saw it on the video. Indian was in here too, throwing tie on the road and so on. So it's not only one race. I believe I am not disagreeing with you. The protests at the Doubly Hotel, you see Indian, you see Amerindian, you see African. I've been out and protests at the office of the president, hold me plaque yard. And there was.
I remember you nearly a bus. Remember you went in front of a lorry that nearly on you.
So
outside the hospital.
I did not regret doing such neither.
I saved my life. I tell you, boss. I tell you that man don't run over you. You all know that.
That's something good you do, man. So I believe that we have to move away from this kind of behavior, man, and let justice prevail and let the investigators do their investigation and let us get a report and know exactly what took place and happened with that 11-year-old child. And the police force need to pull themselves together. When you look at Trinidad, you talk about Trinidad. You know, every crime that happened there, the police commissioner, who is a lady, there's a press conference. They have to come to the public. To date, we haven't seen this commissioner of police to a press conference, Freddie. Those things hurt people.
Yeah.
Those things make people angry in this country.
Yeah.
Because you are the police commissioner. You have certain responsibility.
You know what's the name? You know what's the term for that?
Right?
You know what's the term for that in moral philosophy? Obligation.
Obligation. Yeah. Please come forward. Tell us something.
It's part of your duties.
You know, tell the public something. Yeah. We want even 5 minutes of your time. Take the media and tell us something.
Yeah.
Those things get people angry. Are you protecting us or you are there to slaughter us? Yeah. These are questions that go through common mind in the streets. And we must agree to certain things. You know, these things hurt people. If you're a child and you commission police, come forward. So you must feel hurt. You know, I saw the father behavior at the hospital, at the hotel, on the road. This man like he was going crazy, talking things that we're not supposed to talk, but you have to understand his frustration, right?
Yeah.
and his feelings. So, but if the Commissioner of Police had come forward and said, look, we're dealing with this matter here. We need some time, we need some hours, and I will get back to the public and I will inform you what are we going to do. I have to take time, I have to get the technical people around, and that alone could have bring some kind of stability in society. But to date, this man has come out on to now.
Silence is loud.
Yeah.
And in fact, not just that he didn't come out, he's not being seen. It's as if people are accusing the police of a cover-up. And then you have the commissioner as silent as a lamb. It's like fueling thing. But when you come out, you face the media, there's a certain level of sincerity that could be seen on your face. And that could communicate and resonate with people. And I think...
Well, there's a term for it in political theory, self-confidence.
Yeah.
You must have self-confidence to face people and face questions. I mean, I have learned from this program, which is going on to 3 years now, the difference between some politicians which, when you pick up the phone, they come in here right in the studio, they come in here to bat.
Yeah.
And another one is the opposite. You can't get them to come. You see the difference, and the word for it is self-confidence, because the one that's ready to come say, I come in and face Craig and Kissoon. I come in and bat for what I believe in.
Answer the hard questions.
You know, Freddie, I remember something. First time coming in the show and you put up my picture, I gave you the go-ahead. I received calls and said, where are you going? I said, listen, if you want to be a politician, you must be able to face the critics of the media and people and journalists who want to put question to you. Unless you're not able to do that, you're fooling yourself and fooling the people.
Exactly.
Because Freddie and me had heated argument on this show, but that did not make difference between our relationship. We are discussing certain policies. He may have his view, I will have my view. The public will have their view. We must be able to face the public when you are running for public office or you're a holder of a public office. You must not be behind the scene. And like Mr. Yearwood make mention, the silence speak loud in certain things. And, you know, I have great respect for Mr. Higgins. I believe...
We all do.
He actually... Whether I call for his removal or whatever, I believe he knew his work. But there's something is lacking from this moment where all this problem happening and he's not coming out. That make people think different of him as well. You know, and he need to come out from his comfort zone. Likewise, the mayor of the city need to come out from his comfort zone too.
You throwing your own jobs. We ain't getting in.
Every time he comes on this program, he uses it for his political purposes. And I told him that up to time. But obviously you don't understand. He said, listen, this is a popular program. People looking. I come in for me. I come in for push my politics. I come in for push my politics.
As you said, the last viewership was what, 97,000?
The last program had
97,000. So 97,000 people hearing him for
and that's on Facebook alone.
So he's come and use the program for he's come and use the program for his part. But one thing with him though, he got a position that I come in, I don't care who interviewing me. I come in because I want to say what I have to say.
Mayor, you should know that we allow you to give your views openly here on this program. I mean, Ganesh had accused us of having a PPP leaning. That may be so, yes, but you will get an opportunity to speak.
He took a dig at him. He took a dig at the mayor.
You want to continue digging?
He took a dig at the mayor.
Because they would allow
that man accepts invitation to come on the program, and he came 4 times.
No, we will call him afterwards to answer whatever you.
No, I have no problem with the mayor. I just need people keep calling me as former mayor. up to yesterday, I had to help like 3 persons to the engineer department, went to the office, couldn't get to
clean up the garbage, man.
So these things that people keep calling me, messaging me, I believe
like
that...
you might run again.
No, I have no intention to do such. I don't wish to...
You gone into central politics
No,
now?
not really. I go be there.
You're here, there, and everywhere. I see with all this.
I fight for the right cause. And like, if you want to take a PPP line down, Craig, I am here to defend myself and defend my political party and defend the status of what is happening. So you can have a PPP agenda, but it's me who actually, if I gonna tolerate you, or I gonna defend it. Right?
I hear you. But I want you to know that there got lots of politicians out there with loud mouth, and they don't want to come on this is the most popular, most watched program that has political content in the country right now.
All right, let me put it this way.
But you don't make jokes, you don't mince your words neither.
The day either of the two of you invite me to this program and then tell me that I cannot express my views, you ain't seeing me back again.
Same here, I will walk out the door.
In other words, you could have your political leanings to whatever. That is your right. But don't invite me here and expect me to be your yes man. Because dying a happen.
No, we don't.
No, I'm just saying.
But I'm saying we don't require that of anyone.
Which is what makes this program as popular as it is.
So even if I criticize somebody here, or Freddie criticize somebody, the person could come to the next program and say, Freddie, you the talking nonsense. I am here now to speak.
Yes.
But what we have in Guyana are lots of thin-skinned politicians. Well, They claim that people in the government thin skin, but them ones in the opposition more thin skin. You talk to them, some of them, I have seen politicians that I criticize mildly on this program, and when they see you in public, they're trying to put their head straight, but I just still call them. You understand what I'm saying? I just still call them. That's trying to put their head straight and hoping nothing, but I just still call them.
Well, I have learned this, Craig. If you're a politician and you can't stand up to criticism, and like you said, put the head straight, that person's a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right? Because I can't see if you call me out and you criticize me, whether positive or negative, I must put my head straight. I must be able to defend my integrity and defend myself. Because how I will go and do it out there.
Would you debate the mayor on this program?
Anytime.
Freddie, this opens the door for entirely different debate on your show.
This program is open to anybody.
The thickness of a politician's skin.
Yeah.
Because I believe that if we go down this road, I dislike the PR system of elections because the political party that wins the seats put people who are yes people in there to sit in the seat and not people who will fight for causes. So
but under a PR system, the cause is the political party's cause.
That's what I'm saying.
And you can't put anybody else.
That's what I'm saying. But a lot of them choose to put thin-skinned politicians to sit in the seat in Parliament, knowing that they will abide by whatever the leaders of the political party want them to say.
But by the way, it's not just politicians are thin-skinned in this country.
There are
lots of business
people as well.
And all of
media
that.
people, civil society people. You telling me I've been around 50-something years, been writing in the media for 36 years, thin-skinned. This country should...
Maybe you should have a program specifically for that discussion.
You want to hear, you may say something about someone that is factual, and they will kill you if they find you in a dark corner.
By the way, I criticized David Hines in my program this week, and I'm telling you, he probably is not in Guyana, but that same David Hines that called me all kind of names, if you invite him to this program, he's coming, you gotta give him that. Yes. But they got lots of other politicians that go and they talk up loud when they got their own forum.
Okay.
The operator said we got to go. So, just briefly, very briefly, is there anything you'd like to say to our viewers?
Well, I want to encourage our Guyanese brothers and sisters that to stay calm. If you protest, do it peacefully. with your placard. Nobody stop you to protest. It's a democracy of ours. And we are heading to an election very soon. Let us keep all the parties in our prayers. And we want. I want peace. I want to see a kind of election where transition and everything happen quietly and smoothly.
Jonathan?
I'd just like to say, to close off, by once again offering my sympathy and condolences to the young family. And to the general public out there, I have no issues with you protesting peacefully. That is legal and lawful. But I would also like to ask that no violence, no robberies, no affecting the daily livelihoods of Guyanese people. We don't need that. Let's condemn that. Let's put a stop to it. Let us have a peaceful and a good investigation into whatever leads on from this point on concerning this death.
Leonard, thank you for co-hosting the program once again. You were looking at the former mayor of Georgetown, UBRAJ NARINE, and perennial civil society activist, no-nonsense man, Jonathan Yearwood, looking at the events 2 Mondays ago, their implications, and their own personal interpretation of it. Thanks for being with us. We will see you at the call-in program on Friday. In fact, Jonathan Yearwood and the mayor, former mayor, are free to join the call-in as hosts on Friday. Catch you later. Bye-bye.